Okay guys, today I'm going to show you a quick tutorial on some different watercolor techniques, and in the process of this we'll make some pretty cool art. So you're going to start with your watercolor paper, 3 pieces of masking tape, and your watercolor palette. Your first step, put the tape randomly on this. Biggest thing we want to do is you want your sections not completely equal, but you'll have 4 sections total by the end of this. And let's maybe do it like that. Okay, so you can tell I have 4 sections. Each section we're going to try a different watercolor technique. So in our first top section, we're going to do just a simple wash and take our color from dark to light on one side. So I'm going to stick with the blue. Now when you're watercoloring, add water to the color itself, then take that into the palette and mix it in the palette on the side. So once you have a slightly mixed color, bring it over here and start with your darkest first. So I'll start dark to light. I'm going to come over here, fill my area, and it's still pretty light. I'll go back over, more color. There we go. So this is what's known as a wash, when you're filling the space with one color, solid and consistent. Okay, now we're going to gradually start to bring that wash into a lighter color. Now, unlike acrylic paints, to mix watercolor, we use water to go lighter. So straight water will make it go lighter. Okay, and your goal is with this square to try to get it all the way dark to light. But just for time purposes, I'm only going to show y'all this smaller area for now. Now you can go back and always add a little more to make it darker. And just be careful not to get your paper too wet. See how it's starting to go dark to light. Okay, next step I'm going to show you in the bottom one, you're going to combine 2 colors that bring them together in the middle to create a new color. So you probably would want to start with your primary colors for this. So I will use blue again. Fill one side about halfway with blue. Start going lighter in the middle. And my other side, I'm going to use my other primary color. Let's do red. And that's going to give us our secondary color, purple, when we mix it. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do a little closer for time purposes. Oh. And if you can tell, my palette was dirty. It already mixed us a reddish purple. Okay. But when I start bringing the 2 colors closer together and combine them, you can see I'm starting to get more of a true purple in the middle. Now your goal with this is not just to dip into the purple color and make your color that way. I want to see you make your color by the 2 being combined and into the middle. Okay, so for your third section, this is where you get to have a little fun, do something a little different. We're going to do something called a wax resist, where I use crayon and then watercolor over it. Now because a crayon's wax base, it's not going to be able to hold the watercolor. So watch, I'll do a little example for y'all. So I did a fun little zigzag in different patterns. And if I go back over it with my reddish purple, you see it doesn't go where the crayon was. So this one's known as a wax resist. Okay, and guys, one more thing with watercolor. You notice sometimes your paper gets a little too wet. If you need to, blot it off, or also dry off your brush and then continue back over it. You don't want your paper getting too wet, it will rip. Okay, final one I'm going to show y'all is a lifting. So for lifting, we'll go back to our blue. Now lifting is a good way to make clouds, different other things as well. well. You want it pretty wet, so start with a wash. Then you take your paper towel and start to blot or also stamp away at parts. You notice it gets lighter and darker. So this is a good way to show value within the watercolor too. So I'm going to go back and darken up some spots and then stamp around and lift away some of the watercolor. So you see, it's a good way to kind of help show clouds a bit. And that right there would be considered lifting. Okay, so I'm going to take it back up here real quick for you guys and show you a little bit about color combinations. I have this book over here that shows kind of what happens when you mix two watercolors. So just mixing a regular red, you see the more you layer it and overlay it, the darker your color gets. So that is how you darken colors, guys. More layers on top of each other. Now when using colors, you see when you add a blue to a green, we get more of the seafoamy blues. Same thing with the purples like we showed you before. So if you need to, guys, ask me for this reference book. It's a good resource as well of mixing colors and adding colors. Okay guys, so back to the artwork you've made today. When you're done and fill your entire page, so I know I didn't show everything filled before time constraints, we're gonna pretend. Use your tape, lift it off, and you'll have very clean lines showing where your watercolor was and where the tape was. So see how clean that is? When using watercolor, tape works great, especially for the edges. You can put tape around the border, and that gives you a nice clean line around it too. Okay guys, also when you're done with this project, let's go ahead and add it to our sketchbooks, and this is the beginning of our watercolor unit.